Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. It's an open line Friday. As always, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, all that great stuff. There's some breaking news. A federal court of appeals, a 3-judge panel in a federal court of appeals, has unanimously upheld the criminal contempt conviction of Steve Bannon. They said his argument against the January 6th Congressional Committee lacked merit. The 20-page ruling found that Bannon could not reasonably argue that the subpoena for his testimony was an improper purpose, and his jail term had been put on hold. It was a 4-month sentence to prison, and looks like he will now go to prison unless the Supreme Court takes up the case, which I kind of doubt it. Now, what's notable about this is the composition of the court that heard the case. It was before Judges Pillard, Walker, and Garcia. That's notable because it was a a Biden appointee, an Obama appointee, but also a Donald Trump appointee who voted to convict Steve Bannon. So all you Democrats who complain that that Donald Trump's appointees to the courts are in the tank for Trump and MAGA, a Trump-appointed judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia has ordered Steve Bannon to go to prison for 4 months. Keep that perspective in mind. I get challenged a lot lately for my defense of the free market. It is kind of wild coming from the right, coming from some friends from the Heritage Foundation, others. I've been called establishment a lot, which is kind of wild to me. Defending the free market gets you called establishment. That's how hostile some people are. Now, there's nothing new under the sun. And what I'm noticing about some people on the right is in their frustrations and their convictions that we're losing everything, they want to abandon the tried and the true, and they want to try different things. And in fact, many of the things they want to try are the tactics of the left. And a lot of what they want to do is just repackage government control, government industrial policy, and things like that. So I've been challenged to how would I suggest the right handle, for example, the Green New Deal in this country and pushing back on it and reforming it. I have an idea I want to run past you guys. The tool that the left has used legislatively. Now let me back up here first and say much of what the left has done has been regulatory. And inevitably what happens is the left advances regulations slowly by the book. The right takes over and rushes to repeal those regulations and takes shortcuts, and the courts say, hey, you can do this, but you got to follow the book, and you didn't, and it sets them back. But that regulation can be overruled by legislation. There's not a regulation on planet Earth in the United States that is binding on Congress. And if Congress acts, regulation falls. Now, the problem, of course, is the filibuster. And you got to be able to bypass the filibuster. And doing that is hard, but there are ways to do it. There are ways to do that. And I want to throw out a idea for free market reform in this country that undoes the Green New Deal and also claws back powers that are then bound by legislation. And that's through the reconciliation process. So this is nerd talk. I realize I'm going to try to make this exciting for you, but just follow along with me here. Reconciliation is a process that bypasses the filibuster in the Senate. If you advance legislation that pays down the debt or deficit of the United States and it's financially all related, then it bypasses the filibuster. You get two shots of the apple once a year. It used to be once, but if you remember, the Democrats pushed it hard and they got the parliamentarian of the Senate to agree you can do it twice a year instead of once a year. So Republicans, I want to challenge you to raise taxes. But just hear me out here before you dismiss this. The United States produces, I'm going to say 22. Well, let me do the math here in real time. So we're going to do 22 million barrels of day. Yeah, that's it. 22 million barrels a day of petroleum. That includes crude oil, hydrocarbon gas, and liquids. So 22 million barrels a day. So 365 days, that's 8 billion, 30 million barrels of oil produced in this country. So tax it at $1. $1 per barrel. So the government would raise $8 billion. If we produce 22 million barrels of oil a day, you'd get $8 billion in annual taxes if you added $1 per barrel. Now, hear me out. Well, you want to guarantee that you get that $8 billion a year. So in the reconciliation package that adds $1 per barrel, well, now you need to ban California from prohibiting the internal combustion engine car from being sold there. Because if California bans the internal combustion engine, that's going to reduce the sale of cars that need gas, which is going to reduce the need for gas, which is going to decrease federal tax revenue. So you ban California from banning the sale of cars. And then you need to ban car companies from only producing electric vehicles. They got to be able to produce internal combustion engines because we need them to buy gas. And then you also have to reduce the CAFE standard so that you're letting the free market then, and this is where the defense of the free market comes in. If you reduce the CAFE standard to, let's say, 25, then your free market's going to kick in. So if people want to buy the hybrid, they'll buy the hybrid. If they want to buy the battery car, they'll buy the battery car. If they want to buy the gas guzzler, they'll buy the gas guzzler, and they'll pay the price at the pump with that $1 of tax coming in, and then suddenly we'll be making even more money. But Congress, a Republican-controlled Congress, if they use reconciliation and they're willing to raise $1 per barrel in tax revenue, would raise $8 billion minimum. And then they could use that to stop states like California imposing their will on everyone else and disrupting the free market. So essentially, by raising a tax with just $1 tax on a barrel of oil, you then impose free market reforms that the Democrats will then have to struggle to undo next time. And what will the Democrats be doing? Well, they'll be getting rid of a tax which would disrupt the reconciliation process. So they wouldn't actually be able to undo it. I think the Republicans need to think creatively. Just again, follow along. I know, I can feel it in the force. Some of your heads are like, just follow along with me here. Reconciliation in the Senate says you can bypass the filibuster up to 2 times a year by advancing legislation that pays down the national debt. How do you pay down the national debt? 2 ways. You cut things or you tax things. So if the Republicans embrace a tax on a barrel of oil by $1, that raises $8 billion. Therefore, it reduces the deficit. Therefore, it complies with reconciliation. But you want to be able to sustain that $8 billion a year in taxes. And so the way you have to do it is you have to prohibit California from prohibiting the sale of gas-burning cars, because you want to ensure that revenue comes. Therefore, it would comply with the parliamentary rules of the Senate. There are lots of tricky parliamentary rules in the Senate that you got to comply with, and everything has to be related. Well, banning California from banning gas cars is relevant because you want to ensure that your $8 billion in tax revenue projections meet. Reducing CAFE standards also applies because the more gas guzzlers sold, the more gas revenue you get in taxation. Therefore, you can kill the Democrats' environmental reforms on cars evenly. And then you can also ban the bans on gas stoves because you want people to use natural gas stoves and natural gas water heaters because you need the tax revenue. And so suddenly you've blocked the Democrats' environmentalist reforms through the reconciliation process. You've increased revenue de minimis to the government, but in ways that allow you to then stop the Democrats from killing free market reforms. And then if Americans decide, hey, I want to save the planet, I'm not going to get the gas stove, I'm going to get the electric stove, well, then God bless them for making the choice. If the American says, you know what, I want the hybrid instead of the pure gas, God bless them for doing that. But by rolling back the CAFE standards and prohibiting California from banning the car, you're prohibiting them from tampering with the free market. And you're actually engaged in the free market reforms that'll save us while also blocking the Green New Deal. I think this is a great idea. Use reconciliation against the Democrats to claw back the Green New Deal. Yes, you have to embrace the idea of we're going to raise a little bit of a tax revenue, but in the process, we're then going to gut all of the environmental agenda of the left and save the auto industry and save the petroleum industry and save people's ability to choose for themselves what sort of car they want in an arm's length transaction. I personally think it's a genius idea. I was challenged by so many to put my ideas in practice. If I say free market ideas are the way we need to go, the corollary on the right here is we're going to take over the regulatory apparatus and we're going to use regulations to our advantage. The problem with this is that if you use regulations to your advantage, the left can undo those regulations and put their own in. But it's really hard for Congress to undo these sorts of laws. You claw back the CAFE standards, you ban California from disrupting the marketplace, you put it in legislation. It's hard for the next Congress to undo that. We need Congress to work. Congress is the best line of defense against regulators, and Congress ensuring the free market can work without the punitive regulations of the states is the best way for freedom to thrive in this country, and the best way for consumer demand to thrive in this country, and the best way for people to have choices about their future in this country. Let the people decide whether they want gas stoves and gas water heaters and gas-burning cars, not the government. And you can do it all through the reconciliation process. Sure. Or will Republicans get accused of raising taxes? Yes. Will the Democrats care? It's on a barrel of oil. Oh, they'll care mightily because it's the way the Republicans can then expand your access to petroleum-based products in this country. I think I'm onto something. I was challenged by friends of mine who disagreed with my defense of the free market, and I just don't think they're thinking creative enough. You can advance the free market by the reconciliation process and preclude the left from shutting down the free market and the auto industry and the petroleum industry, all through reconciliation. The Democrats did it. Why don't we think boldly and creatively enough to do it ourselves?
Blinds.com's Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hello there. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson. Open Line Friday, 877-973-7425 from Hamilton, Ohio. Let's go to Dinesh. Welcome to the phone. How are you? Welcome to the show, rather.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Calling in reference to the immigration topic that you were covering earlier. This past week or earlier this week, they had a CPAC conference in Hungary. And as you know, Hungary is the only European country that has refused the European Union's migration policies. And they're trying to force that upon them. And what's happening in Hungary is the politicians and the public are together agreeing that they do not want immigration shoved down their throats, because they're converting Europe, really the population, into non-white, non-Christian, Islamic-based populations. And there was a young teenager, her first name is Eva, I don't remember the last name, but she has a 12-minute YouTube and also Twitter video, which is so good. She goes through step by step, explaining the difference in culture, what they're experiencing, what the truth is, and she really lays out, point by point, what really we in America need to wake up to, because this open border issue is not something that's going to go away.
So I'm glad you raised this issue. Now, I didn't keep up with it with CPAC over there. I tend not to pay attention too much to CPAC anymore, Dinesh, but at the same time, I'm very familiar with what Hungary has done. You know, it's the only country in Europe that has gotten essentially voter buy-in to produce more babies. And they have the birth rate in Hungary of citizens of Hungary has been going up, contrary to the rest of Europe. But it does have to do with the immigration. Immigration is a massive divide between the elite and the common people of Europe. It's causing the rise of right-wing parties in Europe. But also, you do have to acknowledge that in this country and in a lot of European countries, a lot of this stems from low birth rates. We are below population reproduction rate in this country, which means every year here on out, our population is going to decline unless Americans start having more kids. And there are so many governmental disincentives and societal disincentives to have kids. The only way to keep our existence is to rely on an immigrant population. So if you want to have more kids, God bless you, and our government should realign its priorities to do so. But otherwise, we're going to have more immigrants in the country if we're not willing to do that. But an open borders way to do it is a terrible idea. Americans for Prosperity is trying to bring some common sense to this and so many other issues and remind people there are conservative solutions and incentives to regenerate the economy and frankly, the base of citizenship in this country. They're doing a bus tour around the country to highlight conservative ideas as the solutions to economic recovery, to remind people we know the tried and the true. You can go to prosperityispossible.com. That's the website where Americans for Prosperity will find your location for the bus tour in your community so you can hear great speakers on the idea of prosperity, reminding you that we know the tried and the true conservative ideas to spark a regeneration in this country. Prosperityispossible.com is the website. It's brought to you by Americans for Prosperity. They're a do tank. They go into the states and they do the business of the conservative movement, reminding people of the good ideas that can put this country back on the path to prosperity. They want your participation around the country. Go to prosperityispossible.com. Find out where the nearest stop on the bus tour is for you. Prosperityispossible.com. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. It's an open line Friday. I love this story so much. Now, what do you have in religion? In religion, you worship something, correct? Every religion worships something. And then how does the religion manifest itself? What do you do? You have worship services. Every religion has worship services. Every religion has rites and rituals, liturgy, dogma, orthodoxies. Every religion has a concept of sin, concept of redemption in some way. Not every religion, only one religion has a concept of grace. That is giving you that which you don't deserve. Every religion has a concept of mercy. Well, most religions, not all, but most have a concept of mercy that is sparing you from what you do deserve. Those are conflicting concerns, and oftentimes people use them interchangeably, grace and mercy. But the best way to understand them is mercy is sparing you from what you deserve, and grace is giving you what you don't deserve. There's only one religion that has a concept of grace. Most religions have a concept of mercy. But you have rites, you have rituals, you have priests, you have dogmas, you have orthodoxies, you have convictions. You have people on the outside, people on the inside. The left-wing progressive movement is becoming a religion. Think of it. They have their hymns. We now, when we see a sports contest in this country, we not only have to listen to the American national anthem, you get the black national anthem to make the white progressives feel good about themselves. The black people watching the game, they don't care. But the white progressives care greatly about it. Environmentalists sing Imagine, the John Lennon communist song, Imagine All the People. Imagine there's no God. I thought it was very interesting. Rosalind Carter, the former First Lady of the United States, at her funeral, they sang Imagine there's no heaven. Well, that was really a great thing to sing in a church. We're seeing the religion particularly play out again with the environmental activists of the world. They have strong, strident dogmas. They have no grace. And their religious worship is protest. Protest fulfills their calling. It's their desire to connect in some way. And so we're left with this from Sky News. The anti-oil protesters trying to destroy the foundational document of British governance.
You're watching Sky News. Gareth Barlow with you. I just want to remind you of some breaking developments that have happened in the last 10 to 15 minutes or so. These are Just Stop Oil protesters. We can show you this footage now. And you can see these two women. They're about to remove a hammer and chisel there. And you can see and hear the strikes of that hammer against the chisel head. This is glass that is surrounding the Magna Carta, obviously one of the founding documents of the modern British parliamentarian system. These two protesters from Just Stop Oil, you'll see in a second with their T-shirt on, with the Just Stop Oil slogan, and then also the lady on the right-hand side holding a banner saying that the UK government is breaking the law. These are images shared to us by Just Stop Oil. We'll bring you more developments on that developing story as we get them here.
Now, what's notable is one of the women was wearing a clerical collar, like she was an Anglican priestess. And they're trying to smash the glass to tear up the Magna Carta, which is the foundational document of not just British, but Anglosphere governance. The United States has a copy of the Magna Carta in the National Archives. The Canadians, the British, the Americans, the Australians, the New Zealanders, all of them, all the British territories all around the world owe their system of governance originally to the Magna Carta, which these Just Stop Oil protesters not only want to destroy, but want to video and send to newscasters. In Germany, a group called the Vulcan Activist Group, has attacked a Tesla car factory. Now, this is the hilarious one to me. In a 2,500-word letter released on Tuesday, the Vulcan activists claim responsibility for an attack on a Tesla car factory in Berlin, saying the factory, which produces about 500,000 electric cars a year, consumed both natural resources and labor and was neither ecological nor sustainable. Electric cars have come under increasing attack by environmental activists, in particular over concerns that their production leads to higher emissions than the manufacture of internal combustion engine cars, and that the production and recharging of electric car batteries constitutes environmental burden. In targeted attacks across Europe, including in Germany, electric cars have had their tires slashed or deflated. There's no win-in for you people. You decide to save the planet, so you get an electric car, and the environmentalists slash your tires, saying you're damaging the planet. This is actually kind of funny when you think about it, y'all. So they've decided, the environmentalists, which for years have decided we need to move to electric vehicles, so the world starts moving to electric vehicles, and the environmentalists say, no, don't move to the electric vehicle. They're more damaging to the planet than the internal combustion engine. You can't win. It is the logic of the insane asylum at play with this progressivism, and it is a deeply contradictory religion. So I among many of the things that make me a Christian, I believe it answers the question, the deep mysteries of life, and it's a very coherent religion philosophically. A lot of the people who think that Christianity contradicts itself just actually don't know a lot about the religion. The environmentalist religion is deeply contradictory. They don't want you to use the internal combustion engine, so you get in a battery-powered car, and now they don't want you to use the battery-powered car because they think the internal combustion engine is actually better for the environment. It makes no sense until you understand it's actually about ending your ability to live. Whether it's transgenderists, or abortionists, or environmentalists, the common thread of the left-wing religion is you, mouth breathers, need to end your way of life. You are the problem. The solution is to go back to nature. You know, this is the ultimate problem with the environmentalist religion. So, not to dive into theology, but let's take Christianity. With Christianity, you have a personal relationship with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and it doesn't matter about your neighbor, or you should love your neighbor and maybe could see if you can convert him, but you're going to heaven. So you got this. God's got this. You're going to heaven. But what about the environmentalist religion? The environmentalist religion, this is why they're so angry. The environmentalist religion says you can do everything right. You can have solar panels on your roof and windmills in your backyard. You can pedal a bike everywhere you go. You can use reusable grocery bags and, in fact, stop and use the local farmer's market instead of the big grocery store. You can eat so much fiber every day you only use one sheet of toilet paper to save the toilet paper. And you compost. My gosh, your house smells like patchouli and you compost. You are a good environmental steward of the planet. Also, you've sterilized yourself so you have no children. God bless you. You're saving the planet. However, your next door neighbor has 5 kids and a Yukon Denali XL fossil fuel burner, and they have cars for all of their kids. They're all fossil fuel burning cars. They have no solar panels, and they have no windmill, and they shop at the local grocery store, and God forbid they're not vegetarians. And the husband, you can smell every Friday night, he's firing up the big green egg using coal to smoke a brisket to feed the family of mouth-breathing carbon emitters. So in the environmental religion, you're still going to burn in hell because of your neighbor. Now, the environmental religion is leftism. It's not a secret that so much of the world's disastrous, monstrous policies that have caused the loss of so much humanity have come from the left. Nazism, I know they like to say it's right-wing, but it's not. It's socialism, National Socialism, left-wing, communism, Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao, Hitler, all of their ideologies cause the deaths of millions and millions of people, because the only way for left-wing ideology to get their heaven on earth, because they don't believe in a real heaven, it's to kill all the other people. At the end of the day, the only way for the environmentalist who composts, who recycles their own poop in their backyard, who puts up windmills and solar panels, who pedals to work and doesn't have a car, the only way for the environmentalist to have their heaven on earth is to kill the next door neighbor with the SUV who barbecues and uses the power grid, and all their kids have had, all their 5 kids, they've all got cars. You got to eliminate those people to save the planet. That's where we're headed with this left-wing religion. We're going to get back to it. Look at what's happening right now. The left-wing protesters on college campuses wanting the elimination of the Jews. That's a start, but it's only a start for them, though. They're not going to stop at the Jews. They're next going to come for the Christians. They're going to come from the large families. They're going to come for the people who have cars. We're already seeing this around the country. In parts of this country now, in San Francisco and elsewhere, there are reports of people driving SUVs. Their tires are slashed. In Europe now, it's the electric car drivers. Their tires are being slashed. You'd think they'd be saved, but no. The left has decided that anyone who engages in capitalism and productivity in this country or other countries are bad, because if you're a producing type, you're engaged in capitalism, and capitalism is destructive. It's all part of their religion, and we're seeing their religion come about in its earliest nascent days. They're still working on the ideas. They're trying to find some logical consistency. They haven't had their Council of Nicaea yet. It's coming at some point. But this is what's shaping up. Left-wing environmentalists, it's why Greta Thunberg can protest the Jews, can protest in favor of transgenderism, and also protest against corporations and in the environment, because it's all a common religion, and the religion is premised on mankind is bad. And there can be no mercy for them unless there's destruction for you, because you refuse to go along with them. Therefore, you are the heretics who must be burned. It suddenly becomes a rational, coherent thought, because it looks deeply contradictory. Why would environmental eco-warriors burn down a Tesla factory when the electric cars are good for the environment? Because they've decided technology and productivity is bad for the environment. They don't want you to drive internal combustion engines, and yet they've decided that they're actually better than the Tesla. What they want is for you to give up your way of life, because you are bad, because you are not committed to the orthodoxy and the dogma. You're either an apostate or a heretic, and you must be burned, because there can be no salvation for planet Earth as long as it's not just the true believers being around. This is a religion. We are watching in real time, not just a political realignment of this country. We're watching a new dangerous religion take shape. It's more dangerous, honestly, than radical Islamism, because the radical Islamists, they will blow themselves up and take others out with them. But what the environmental left-wing sterilization crowd wants to do is they actually want to end humanity more subtly. They want you to give up your way of life. They want you to stop having children. The Islamists, we know what they want. They want Allah, and they want the second coming of the Mahdi, and they're going to kill us all to make it happen. The environmentalist comes with a smile to mask their scowl, and they want to sterilize your children. They've given up on you. They know you're going to die off. They want to sterilize your children so that the world can be at peace without humanity. See, the Islamist still wants humanity to exist. They just want the Islamic radicals to be in charge. The environmentalist wants no one to exist in order to save the planet. Theirs is perhaps the sickest religion of all on the planet, and that's why they do things that seem deeply contradictory. But when you understand at the end of the day what it's all about is the destruction of humanity and the silencing and the elimination of humanity to save the planet, all of the contradictions suddenly start to make sense in what's going on. Now, I need to tell you about Old Glory Bank, because they are my bank, and they could be your bank, and they are the most innovative online bank you're ever going to have. The Old Glory Bank app is so innovative. I can take cash to 88,000 retail locations around the country and deposit it into my Old Glory Bank account. You can't do that with other online banks. They've got great online bill pay. They've got online budgeting tools that are phenomenal, and they have no fee checking and savings. They could be your bank. They could be your kid's bank, and you can get an account in 8 minutes or less online. You just go to oldglorybank.com. I have been a customer of Old Glory Bank for over a year now. Right about a year now. And I have been so pleased with them. They're so easy to use. Their online interface is so great. Their app is incredible. They even have this innovative section on their app for your debit card. If you lose it, you can turn it off. You don't have to just call and cancel it. You can turn it off on your app. And if you find it again, you think you lost it, you left it at a restaurant or something, you're going to get it, you can turn it back on again so you're not out of your debit card. It's phenomenal the way they've done it. It's so thoughtful. You can check them out, oldglorybank.com. Oldglorybank.com. You can get an account in less than 8 minutes, and again, no fee checking, no fee savings. Incredible online tools. Their app is phenomenal. Their debit card is great. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425, except it is just way past time for you to do that. I got to give ABC News some credit. They decided to fact check Joe Biden.
It was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
Inflation was actually 1.4% when Biden was sworn in, peaking at 9.1% in June 2022. It has since come down to 3.5%, preventing a further drop housing costs. In New York City, one survey found rent is rising 7 times faster than wages. In California, a condo in West Hollywood just sold for a record-smashing $24 million. Food costs also playing a role. Grocery prices are up 26% since 2019. And fast food prices are up 33%. Many consumers saying enough is enough.
I don't mean to be broke, but for an 8-count mini and a lemonade, $14?
Good for them. Good for ABC. Deciding to fact-check Joe Biden on this stuff. It was a nonsensical statement that he made. It's simply not true. And for a man who claims to value his decency and his willingness to be a straight shooter with the American people, it was a flat-out lie. Now, one can argue that, well, he's dementia-addled and this is a problem, but I don't think that's really the case. In this particular, he's got dementia, but I don't think that's really the situation with this. I think Joe Biden can't bring himself to acknowledge the situation and how bad it is and take blame for it, because Joe Biden has never in his entire life liked to take blame for anything. Joe Biden has his entire life tried to blame other people. I mean, not to go there, but I might as well. I mean, look at the Hunter Biden situation. Joe Biden has abdicated his responsibility to his screwed up son and doesn't take any level of ownership in how screwed up the kid is. And now he's a grown man. I think that the voters are going to ultimately hold Joe Biden accountable. And you're going to have an absolute meltdown on the left if this goes where it's looking. I mean, you got even Peggy Noonan in her columns like, this is looking more and more like a Trump win is coming unless things change. And yeah, it absolutely is looking like a Trump win. That's in the air, and the Democrats know it, and they're not going to like it. Things can change. There's plenty of time for them to do it, but they don't seem to have the humility to be able to change.